cheating wife hired a dog walker. Turned out, she was the one being walked, every Thursday night. She thought I was working late. But I'd been weaving her leash for weeks. And tonight, I was going to yank it hard. I found myself standing in the lobby of the Hilton Hotel in downtown Albany, not far from the Capitol building. Thursday night, just around 10 p.m. The lobby lighting was soft, gold-tinted, quiet enough to hear the suitcase wheels of late check-ins drag across the tile. I wasn't there to check in. I wasn't there to relax. I had come for something much darker. Melanie, my wife, was there too. Just not with me. She was on the 12th floor with her boyfriend, the man she called Cain, like some biblical parody. Landscaping contractor by day, homewrecker by night. A married father of two with a thing for other people's wives. I'd watched them walk through that same lobby the week before, hand in hand, laughing like life owed them something. That night, I'd done nothing but watch. I stood in the corner near the bell desk, coat zipped, head down, soaking it in like poison. But tonight was different. Tonight was when the leash got pulled. Let me make something clear, I'm not a violent man. I'm not here for drama or blood or shouting in hotel hallways. That's not who I am. My name is Donald Taft. I'm 34. I used to be an emergency room doctor, one of the good ones, sharp under pressure, steady hands, zero tolerance for bullshit. But lately, I've been running on fumes. The job, the nights, the blood, it all caught up with me. I took a leave of absence 2 months ago. Burnout, officially. But really, it was her. Melanie. I didn't tell her about the leave. I wanted to see what she'd do with my absence. I wanted to see if the cracks I felt were real. And they were. Every one of them. Melanie is 32. Loan officer at a national bank, sharp dresser, sharp mouth. 5'8", long brunette hair, lashes like knives. You'd look at her and see success. I looked at her and saw a stranger wearing my wife's face. We met in college, English lit class. She quoted Sylvia Plath like it meant something. Back then, I thought she was deep. Turns out, she was just good at reciting other people's pain. We got married after med school. No kids. Thankfully. I used to think we had something real. We'd talk about buying a house, maybe getting a dog. She even brought home brochures from adoption agencies once. All theater. All smoke. What we really had was proximity. Routine. A calendar of excuses. The affair started long before I knew it. Maybe a year. Maybe 2. I found out through sheer dumb luck. Carol, a nurse at my hospital, saw Melanie having dinner with a man she described as very married, at a steakhouse downtown. Carol didn't know it was Cain, not at first. But she recognized him a week later when his landscaping company did a project for her husband's office. She connected the dots. Told me in passing. I didn't react. Just logged the name, the time, the place. That weekend, Melanie told me she was going to yoga. Came back flushed, hair slightly damp, smelling like cologne that wasn't mine. I didn't say a word. Just watched her stir her tea 3 times, like she always does when she's lying. That was the first real confirmation. The second came when I followed her. Thursday evening, 7:15 p.m. She said she was meeting her friend Jocelyn for dinner. Wore heels, black blouse, lipstick. Jocelyn, for the record, lives in Buffalo. I watched Melanie park 2 blocks from the Hilton. She walked in alone. 30 minutes later, Cain arrived. No hesitation, no hiding. They embraced in the lobby like it was their anniversary. He touched the small of her back like he'd been doing it for years. That night, I didn't go home. I sat in my car for 4 hours, just thinking. Not about her. About me. About the weight of pretending. The weight of silence. So I made a plan. Quiet. Legal. Final. And tonight was part 1. The setup. The first tug of the chain. I stepped up to the Hilton front desk and smiled. Could you please connect me to Mr. Atchison's room? The clerk barely looked up. Room number 1208, I said. A pause. Then the transfer. I didn't speak when the line picked up. Just waited. Listened to breathing on the other end. Then the click. Cowards hang up fast. My point had been made. It started with the dog. We never had one. Melanie always claimed she was, thinking about it, like she was waiting for some invisible sign. But 3 months ago, she came home with brochures from a local shelter and a leash she said was on sale. I played along. Smiled. Said it might be good for us. What I didn't say was I had already seen the adoption confirmation in her email the night before. She named him Juno. A mutt, half golden retriever, half something else. Big paws, floppy ears. Dumb, sweet thing. He followed her like a shadow. I watched them from the couch, how she talked to him in that high voice I hadn't heard in years. Not since before the cheating. She insisted on being the one to walk him. Every morning before work. Every evening after. Even when it snowed. Especially when it rained. Like clockwork. Except Melanie hates weather. Her hair, her shoes, she used to plan her life around forecasts. So I knew something was off. I started checking timestamps. Her walk stretched from 15 minutes to over an hour. Some nights, she came back with makeup smudged, cheeks too flushed for cold air. I asked once, casually, long walk. She shrugged. Juno has a lot of energy. Right. Juno. A week later, she slipped. Mentioned he when talking about the new dog park. Just a pronoun. Just enough. I let it go. Then I found the invoice. Buried in the mail pile, under a credit card offer, a printed receipt from Atchison Landscaping. A quarterly invoice. Not addressed to us. Not for any job we'd ordered. Just his name. His company. Slipped into our house like a taunt. I showed it to her at dinner. Set it down next to her plate. This come to the wrong address. She stared at it for half a second too long. Oh, she said, picking it up like it was nothing. Must have gotten mixed in at the bank. We process their payments sometimes. She didn't blink. Just folded the paper and kept eating. I didn't push. I nodded and let it slide. But that night, while she showered, I searched her purse. The receipt wasn't there. Neither was the leash. Next morning, I left late for work. Parked 2 blocks away. Watched from the shadows as Melanie stepped out with Juno, heels clicking on the sidewalk. She wasn't dressed for a walk. She was dressed for someone. A few minutes later, a black SUV pulled up. Tinted windows. Out stepped Kane, in gym clothes, of all things. Melanie handed him the leash, but they didn't walk the dog. They walked together, around the corner, out of view. Juno just trotted behind them, leash slack. Like a witness. I followed at a distance. Enough to see but not be seen. They didn't go to the park. They walked into a rental unit Kane managed a few blocks down. One of those new ones, fake brick, big windows, short-term lease. Perfect for quick meetings. They were inside for 43 minutes. When she came back, Melanie stopped at a cafe, bought an iced latte, and let Juno pull her the last block home. She looked radiant. Like someone who'd just gotten everything she wanted. I wondered if she'd even remember what lie she told that morning. Later that night, she curled up next to me on the couch. Hair damp from a bath, skin warm, calm. Juno slept at her feet. She rested her head on my shoulder like it still meant something. Work was brutal today, she murmured. I didn't answer. I just reached down and scratched Juno behind the ears. Thanks for walking him this morning, I said. She stiffened, just for a moment, then smiled. Of course, she whispered. Snake. The next few days were more of the same. Fake appointments. New perfume. Changed passwords. A new burner phone hidden in her sock drawer, which she thought I wouldn't notice. I didn't confront her. I documented. Every step. Every slip. Because I wasn't just building a case. I was building an ending. One where she didn't see the leash tightening until it was around her neck. I started timing her silences. Not her absences, those were obvious. I mean the gaps in her stories. The places where her voice dipped, where her eyes moved left, where her hands fidgeted with nothing. Lies have patterns. And Melanie's were becoming lazy. Work's been rough, she'd say. Which client? Just, one of the new ones. Vague. Always vague. She stopped mentioning co-workers by name. Her stories had no anchors. It was like she forgot that lies need roots, or maybe she thought I wasn't paying attention anymore. She was half right. I wasn't paying attention to her stories. I was paying attention to the spaces between them. Wednesday night, I came home early. Said a patient coded. Said I needed a drink and some silence. She looked startled, but smiled, poured me a glass of whiskey like she still knew how. I thought you had the late shift, she said, too smooth. Shift got lighter, I replied. That night, I checked her phone while she slept. She had a new lock screen code. Changed it 2 days earlier. I guessed it in 4 tries. 0-6-1-5. June 15th. Her birthday. Not ours. Hers. Inside, most of the messages were wiped. But one thread stood out, a synced calendar invite labeled Private Session. Repeating weekly. Thursdays, 9 p.m. The location, 1208 Wellington Street Unit 4. I looked it up. It wasn't a gym. Or a yoga studio. It was one of Kane's rental units. She'd named her affair a therapy session. Poetic. I didn't confront her. I printed the calendar. Slid it into a manila envelope. Marked it, insurance, in black ink. Put it in my drawer under old tax returns. Just in case. The next day, I sat across from her at breakfast. She wore a silk robe, sipping almond milk like it was some French ritual. Juno was at her feet, tongue out, panting, waiting for crumbs. Are you happy? I asked her. She blinked. What? Just wondering. She smiled. Not warm. Defensive. Of course. Why? I shrugged. Just checking. She laughed. You're acting weird lately. I nodded. Probably. Lot on my mind. She went back to her cereal. Never asked what was on my mind. She never does any more. Her empathy was skin deep. Decorative. Like the pillows she kept buying for the couch we never used. That night, I followed her again. Same time. Same shoes. Same leash. Except this time, she wasn't alone when she left. Kane was already waiting outside in the SUV. She didn't hesitate. Just slipped into the passenger seat like it was muscle memory. Juno didn't even bark. They didn't go to the Wellington unit this time. They went back to the Hilton. Pattern. Routine. Thursdays were sacred now. I didn't follow them inside. I didn't need to. I stood across the street with a coffee and watched the lights. 12th floor. Same room. Curtains closed, but not tight enough. A silhouette moved. Hers. She didn't close the drapes all the way. Like she wanted someone to see. Like the thrill was part exhibition, part degradation. I wondered if Kane's wife knew. Back home, I logged onto Melanie's laptop. She rarely used it, which made it easier. Found her photo backups, synced from her phone. She'd forgotten that part. Among the filtered selfies and food shots, I found 2 photos that didn't match the others. One was of Kane, shirtless, taken in a hotel mirror. His wedding ring clearly visible on the sink. The other was of a handwritten note. Let me be your secret. I saved both. Then I logged into our shared Dropbox and uploaded them into a folder titled Vet Bills. She'd never look. By Friday, she was different. Softer. More touchy. Maybe guilt. Maybe afterglow. You've been distant, she said. I looked up from my book. Busy. She touched my knee. Let's do something this weekend. What did you have in mind? She hesitated. Maybe a hike? With Juno. A hike? The same woman who complained about damp socks wanted to climb a trail. Sure, I said. Let's do that. I watched her face when I agreed. She looked relieved. Like she thought she'd thrown me off the scent. What she didn't know was that I was already at the summit. Gaslighting doesn't always come in big speeches. Sometimes it's the soft smile when you know she's lying. The warm hand on your back just after she's erased a message. The way she starts asking you if everything's okay, like your silence is the problem. Melanie had entered her performance era. That weekend, we drove up to Thatcher Park. A short hike, clear skies, and just enough cell reception for her to keep checking her phone. She wore her hair in a ponytail, like she was trying to look low maintenance. The illusion didn't hold. She kept wiping invisible sweat off her forehead, glancing around like someone was watching. She wasn't used to being alone with me anymore. We didn't talk much. Just walked, Juno tugging ahead, birds chirping too brightly for the mood between us. You've been quiet lately, she said halfway up the trail. I'm thinking. About work. I shook my head. About you. She stopped walking. The leash tightened as Juno barked at a squirrel. Me, she asked, too lightly. I didn't answer. Just kept walking. On the drive back, she turned the radio up. A song she used to love came on. She reached for my hand. I let her take it. Her skin was soft. Moisturized. The kind of detail that used to matter. I know things haven't been perfect, she said. I turned my head slightly. Since when? She hesitated. The past few months. You've been distant. I nearly laughed. She was rewriting the script in real time, flipping the roles, the sequence, the blame. Like a director mid-shoot, deciding the lead actor was now the villain. Maybe, I said. That night, she lit candles. Put on music. Wore silk again. We didn't sleep. She made sure of that. Every kiss felt like it came with a question, do you still believe me? I answered with silence. The next morning, she was all smiles. Made pancakes. Said we should take a trip together, just the two of us. Her voice sparkled with effort. You pick the place, she said. I'll think about it. By Monday, she had dropped 3 I love yous before noon. None of them landed. She noticed. On Wednesday, I came home to find the apartment spotless. New candles. A different wine. She wore jeans and a sweater, casual Melanie, the one I hadn't seen in a year. You're early, she said, surprised. You didn't check my schedule. She blinked. Should I? Another beat of silence. Another loose thread. That evening, she made spaghetti, my favorite. Except she forgot the garlic, and I didn't correct her. She kept glancing at me while we ate, like waiting for a verdict. You okay? She finally asked. I looked at her. Really looked. You ever feel like something's ending? I said. She tilted her head. What do you mean? I leaned back. Just a feeling. She reached for her wine. Her hand shook slightly. You're scaring me a little. You should trust your instincts. Later, in bed, she curled into me like we were still 18. Her breath on my neck, her hand on my chest. Do you still love me? She whispered. I don't know, I said. She pulled back. That's not funny. I'm not joking. She sat up. Donald. I think you're lying to me. There. The silence after that sentence was perfect. Dense. Final. But she recovered, just like she always does. Is this about work? Stress. Because you haven't been yourself lately. I've been worried. There it was. Her first pivot. Worried enough to lie to my face. She stood now. Crossed her arms. Defensive posture. I don't know what you're talking about. No. No. So calm. So composed. I almost respected it. But I didn't press further. Not yet. She needed to think the script was still hers. What she didn't know was that I'd already started editing the ending. The next day, she suggested couples therapy. I agreed without hesitation. She smiled like she'd won. Like I was finally seeing reason. What she didn't realize was this: I wanted therapy. I wanted her to sit in a room and try to lie through her teeth in front of someone trained to hear the cracks. I wasn't after reconciliation. I was after documentation. Because Melanie had always been good at manipulation. But I was better at control. I never expected the receipts to come from her own friends. But betrayal's funny like that. It leaks in places you forget to lock. It started with a message request on Facebook. A woman named Dana, the kind of name I vaguely remembered from Melanie's office parties. She wrote, "Hey, I don't want to get involved, but you seem like a good guy. You deserve to know." Attached was a screenshot. Melanie. Laughing in a booth at Taverna 64. Kane beside her. Not touching, not obvious, but the angle was careful, the timestamp damning. 2 Thursdays ago. Same time she told me she was working late, closing a tough file. I responded one word, "Thanks." Then blocked Dana. I didn't need her conscience. I needed her proof. I added the photo to my growing Dropbox archive, the one she never noticed, hidden in plain sight. I renamed the folder, Juno's Vet Records. Inside it lived 23 items: photos, text exports, location logs, screenshots of sync devices, and a screen recording of her call log, pulled straight from her cloud backup. Technology was her friend until it wasn't. Melanie had forgotten her iPad was still linked to her phone. She left it at home every Thursday. On one of those nights, I opened messages. She had deleted the thread on her phone, but not the iPad. The name was saved as K, cute attempt. But the texts weren't cute. K, still thinking about yesterday. You left scratches. Melanie, you earned them. Same time Thursday. K, of course. Rooms booked. I screenshotted the whole thing. Date, time, phone number. Saved. I didn't get mad. I didn't cry. I just breathed deeper. That kind of cold, still breathing that doctors know, when you're about to lose someone, and you can't let it show on your face. Over the next few weeks, I kept quiet. Played husband. Held her hand in public. Kissed her cheek in the elevator. Let her think I was softening. In therapy, she played the martyr. "I just feel like he's shut down," she told the counselor, voice trembling just enough. When asked why, she looked at me. "He's distant. He doesn't talk anymore. Sometimes I think he resents me." I smiled at her. "Do you feel resented, Melanie?" She turned her palms up, helpless. "I don't know. Maybe." The therapist nodded. "Have there been any breaches of trust in the relationship?" Melanie blinked. "No. Nothing like that." I nodded too. "Nope. Nothing at all." We left holding hands. On the way to the car, she leaned her head against my shoulder. "Thank you for being open." I kissed her forehead. "I'm trying." That night, I backed up everything. Printed 2 full copies. One for my lawyer. One for the lockbox at my dad's office. The next day, I visited Kane's house. Not to knock. Just to see. It was bigger than ours. Clean yard. Swing set in the back. His wife's car parked out front. Her name was Gina, I'd pulled it from public records. Her Facebook was still open. Family photos. Smiles. A golden retriever. They had a son. 9. A daughter. 6. Melanie had destroyed a whole family for this man. For his gym tan and discount cologne. That night, I copied Gina's email from her Facebook profile. Created a burner account. No message. Just an attachment. Inside, every file. Every receipt. I didn't hit send yet. I waited. Because before I ruined Kane, I wanted Melanie to see what silence really looked like. So I booked a hotel. The Hilton. Room 1208. Same as theirs. Next Thursday, I left work early. Checked in. Waited. At 8:53 p.m. I watched their SUV pull into the garage. I watched her heels click across the tile. At 9:05, they stepped into the elevator. I waited until 9:12. Then I slipped a printed photo under their door. The one from the booth at Taverna. Dana's gift. Under it, a sticky note. Still thinking about yesterday. You left scratches. I never knocked. I just let the silence fall. Back home, I poured a drink. Sat on the couch. Melanie came home an hour later than usual. Her face pale. Her mouth tight. She didn't say anything. Neither did I. She took Juno for a walk. Didn't ask me to come. When she got back, she stood in the hallway like she wanted to say something. Then didn't. She went to bed without brushing her teeth. I smiled to myself. The leash was tightening. She tried to reset everything. The next morning, Melanie was all routine. Poured my coffee, smiled like it reached her eyes. I watched the way she moved around the kitchen, tighter, quieter, less sure of herself. She didn't ask about the note. Didn't mention the photo. But her hands trembled when she buttered her toast. She was waiting for me to explode. She didn't understand, I wasn't going to give her that. I kissed her cheek. Thanks for breakfast. Of course, she said too quickly. Juno sat between us, tail twitching like he felt the shift in the room. Dogs always know. That weekend, she suggested we go to a cabin, her parents' place upstate. Unplug, get some time together, she said. The way you talk to someone with a terminal diagnosis. Slow, deliberate, false hope. I agreed. Not because I wanted to. Because I wanted her isolated. In the days leading up to the trip, I cleaned house. Called my lawyer, confirmed everything was in motion. Separation papers drafted. Financials sorted. I'd kept all our assets traceable. No joint investments. No kids. Nothing she could twist. I changed my will. Revoked her as my medical proxy. Locked down my accounts. Cleared the safe. Then came the quiet part. Her friends. I started with Lisa. Close, but not too close, the kind of woman who would sell a soul for a glass of Pinot and a new secret. I invited her for coffee. Just catching up, I said. We talked casually. Life, work, traffic. Then I shifted. You ever notice Melanie acting different? Lisa blinked. What do you mean? I let the silence do its work. Lisa looked down at her cup. Stirred it 3 times, just like Melanie. I mean, yeah, she finally said. She's been weird lately. Guarded. Like she's hiding something. I didn't respond. Just nodded slowly. Let that guilt fester. Is something going on? She asked. I don't know, I lied. 2 days later, Lisa texted Melanie. Is everything okay with you and Donald? I saw the message. Synced from her iPad. Melanie responded. Yeah, why? He seemed off. Melanie didn't reply. The next day, she deleted the thread. Too late. I had already saved it. Next was Gina, Kane's wife. I still hadn't sent the package. But I added more to it. Photos of their hotel check-ins. Restaurant receipts I pulled from our joint bank account. She used the wrong card more than once. A video, shot from my phone, showing Melanie walking hand in hand with Kane, entering the Wellington rental. I didn't even need audio. I named the folder, Truth. Set it to auto-send via Dropbox. If anything happened to me, a missed check-in, an unmarked message, the kill switch would trigger. Melanie didn't know it, but every room we entered from that point on was a trap. Every look, every touch, catalogued. At the cabin, she lit a fire, made cocoa, curled up against me like it was 2016 again. I missed this, she whispered. I kissed her forehead. Me too. We watched a movie. She fell asleep halfway through. I didn't. I stayed up and watched her chest rise and fall, the same way I used to monitor trauma patients. Calm on the outside. Hemorrhaging inside. The next morning, she made breakfast. I sat on the porch with Juno, the cold air biting at my face. She joined me with coffee, sat in silence. Then she tried. "Donald," she said slowly. "If I told you something, would you hate me?" My jaw clenched. But I didn't flinch. "Depends." She stared straight ahead. "I think I made a mistake. I let that hang. With us. With how I've handled things. Coward. Anything you want to tell me?" She shook her head. "Not yet. Not yet." She thought she was managing the timeline. Still believed she had a say. That was her last mistake. That evening, I emailed Kane from another burner account. "You're about to lose everything. Make peace with that." No signature. Just the facts. I deleted the account. Logged out. Shut the laptop. Melanie came into the room wearing that same silk robe. "Want to go to bed?" she asked. "Soon," I said. She kissed me, slow and soft. I kissed her back, eyes open. Tomorrow, I'd serve the papers. And the leash, the one she thought she was holding, would finally snap. Monday morning, I wore my navy suit. The one I usually reserved for funerals and board reviews. I straightened the tie twice. Polished shoes. Not for Melanie. For the record. She was still asleep when I left. Or pretending. I didn't wake her. Downtown was already humming. Normal life, lattes, crosswalks, car horns. I walked into my lawyer's office at 8:58 a.m., signed the final documents. Initialed every page with a steady hand. No hesitation. "Want us to serve it at her job?" the paralegal asked. I shook my head. "No. Her therapy appointment." She blinked. "You're serious?" "Very." We'd scheduled our third couple session for that afternoon. Melanie had insisted. Said she wanted to open up more. Said she was ready to be honest. Perfect. At 3 p.m., I walked into the therapist's office alone. Sat on the couch. Waited. Melanie arrived 6 minutes late, flustered, phone in hand. She kissed my cheek like nothing was fractured. "I was just on a call," she whispered. "Work's insane." I nodded. "Of course." The therapist smiled. "Let's begin." Melanie turned to me. "Do you want to go first?" I did. I opened my briefcase. Pulled out a thick manila envelope. Placed it gently on the table. "What's that?" she asked, voice tightening. "Reality," I said. She reached for it. Hesitated. Opened it. Inside, divorce papers. Full financial breakdown. Custody of Juno, already filed. Photos. Screenshots. Calendar entries. A printed transcript of her text exchange with Kane from last Thursday. She didn't blink at first. Just stared. "What is this?" she whispered. "You said you wanted to be honest." She turned to the therapist. "This is abusive." "No," I said, calm as ice. "This is clarity." She flipped through the pages, eyes darting. Hands shaking. "You've been spying on me. I've been documenting your lies." She stood. "I don't have to take this." "You don't," I said. "But you will. The lease is in my name. The accounts are split. And this," I tapped the folder, "is already with a judge." She laughed. Bitter. Dry. "You planned this. 4 months." The therapist tried to speak. I raised a hand. "This isn't about reconciliation anymore," I said. "This is about consequences." Melanie sat back down. Pale. Smaller. "This is a mistake," she said. "No," I replied. "The mistake was yours." She stared at the floor. Didn't cry. She's not the crying type. But her voice cracked when she asked, "What do you want?" I looked her dead in the eyes. Silence. Distance. And your signature. I slid the pen across the table. She didn't take it. I stood. Collected my briefcase. Check your email, I said on the way out. In her inbox, forwarded emails to her boss, her HR rep, and 3 of her closest friends. Each with attachments. No explanation. Just facts. I walked out without looking back. On the sidewalk, I called Gina, Kane's wife. She picked up on the second ring. Hello. It's done, I said. A pause. Then, I got your package. I waited. Thank you, she said. I had no idea. Now you do. Another pause. What happens now? That's up to you. I hung up. 30 minutes later, Kane's company's Yelp and Google reviews began to tank. I didn't leave any. I didn't have to. By 6 p.m., his business Facebook page was deleted. At 7:12 p.m., Melanie texted me. Can we talk? I didn't respond. At 9:27 p.m., she called. I let it ring. Then blocked the number. The next morning, I changed the locks. She came home to find her key didn't work. I watched her from the living room window, standing in the hallway, staring at the door like it had betrayed her. I opened it halfway. There's a box in the lobby. It has your stuff. She looked stunned. You're serious? I nodded. Always was. She didn't say a word. Just turned and walked away. Juno barked once. Then laid back down at my feet. I closed the door. Clicked the deadbolt. Turned off the lights. She didn't come back the next day. Or the next. I kept the apartment dark. Quiet. No music, no TV. Just Juno's slow breathing and the distant hum of traffic through sealed windows. Peace, finally, had weight. On the 3rd day, I got the email. Subject, please. From her personal account. No greeting. No sign-off. Just a 3-line plea. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. You're scaring me. Please talk to me. I didn't respond. She called from her work number that night. Blocked. Then from Lisa's phone. I answered that one. Hello. A pause. Breath on the line. Donald, please, can we just talk like human beings? I said nothing. She kept going. You've made your point. You've humiliated me. I get it. I messed up. But we were alive, we were something. Doesn't that mean anything? Silence again. Then she snapped. I made a mistake, okay. Is that what you want to hear? Is that what this is about? You win. You get to feel righteous and cold and perfect. But I'm still me. No, I said. You're not. Click. The next day, I sent the final files to her employer's HR department. A clean package. Screenshots, timestamps, breach of ethics notes, all carefully arranged. Not vindictive. Just complete. She called that night from another number. Left a voicemail. Why are you doing this? Her voice cracked. Why are you trying to ruin me? She still didn't get it. I wasn't trying. I was. The next day, I saw Kane in person, the first time since it all broke. He came to my building. No text, no warning. Just stood in the lobby like a man waiting to be punched. I took the elevator down. Walked out. He stepped forward, hands up like I was a cop with a badge. I just want to talk, he said. You have 30 seconds. He nodded. Swallowed. I didn't know it would go this far. That makes 2 of us. I'm sorry. No, you're not, I said. He looked down. My wife left. Took the kids. I said nothing. She showed them the photos, he added. You sent them? No. He blinked. Then how? She did it herself. Truth has a way of moving without help. He looked gutted. Smaller than before. Not the cocky guy I'd seen at the Hilton lobby. Just a man with no home to go to. I lost everything, he whispered. Good. I turned and left. Back upstairs, Melanie had emailed again. I'm going to the therapist alone. I need to understand what's wrong with me. That was the first honest sentence I'd seen from her in months. I didn't reply. Instead, I returned her wedding ring. Boxed it in the same packaging it came in, 5 years ago. Sent it to her office with a sticky note. Wrong size. 2 days later, Lisa texted me. She's been crying at work. I think she's crashing. Not my problem, I replied. But I saved the message anyway. Just in case. 3 weeks passed. Papers were signed. The court date set. My lawyer said Melanie hadn't contested a single item. Not the separation of assets. Not the dog. Not even the apartment. That told me everything I needed to know. She was too tired to fight. Or too ashamed. Both worked. I cleaned the place out in silence. Donated her clothes. Sold her furniture. Left only what was mine, and what mattered. The night before our court date, I slept like I hadn't in a year. Deep, dreamless, undisturbed. When she arrived at the courthouse, I barely recognized her. No heels. No makeup. Hair tied back. Eyes swollen. She didn't look at me. I didn't look away. The hearing took 12 minutes. When the judge asked if the divorce was entered into willingly, without coercion, she said yes. When asked if she had anything to add, she shook her head. I signed. She signed. Done. We left through separate doors. I didn't turn to watch her walk away. The apartment feels bigger now. Not because it is, the walls are still the same distance apart, the kitchen still too small, the hallway still a little too narrow. But silence makes space. Real silence. The kind that doesn't wait for footsteps behind it. I moved her name out of my contacts. Not deleted, just changed. Melanie Rostaft became no answer. Not for drama. For clarity. The morning after the hearing, I took Juno for a long walk. No leash. He stayed close, loyal as ever, tail low, glancing back now and then like he expected someone else to be with us. But there was no one else. Just me. Just forward. I passed the cafe where she used to buy her fake smiles in iced latte form. The barista gave me a nod. Didn't ask where she was. Maybe he already knew. Maybe he didn't care. Either way, I didn't explain. I threw out the leash that afternoon. Juno didn't need it anymore. Neither did I. A week later, Melanie sent one final email. A wall of words. Apologies dressed in the language of therapy. Boundaries. Regret. I've learned so much. I didn't know what I was doing. You were always good to me. It ended with, I miss who we were. I read it once. Then archived it. She had already taught me how to live without honesty. I didn't need her to teach me how to live without her. Gina followed up with a short message. He moved out. It's just me and the kids now. I owe you. I didn't respond. I didn't need her debt. I kept the Dropbox folder alive, renamed it, Resolved. Just in case anyone ever tried to rewrite the story. Because that's what people like Melanie do, they change the ending when no one's watching. Suddenly they were trapped. Victims. Misunderstood. But I watched every frame. I knew better. She reached out to my sister, too. Asked her to talk to me. Said she was worried I'd become someone else. My sister laughed. Told her. He didn't become someone else. He just stopped being yours. Weeks turned into months. Melanie's job kept her on, technically. But the promotion she was gunning for vanished. Her circle shrank. Lisa stopped returning her texts. Word spreads fast in offices that run on rumor and spite. Especially when the stories are true. Kane. Still trying to rebuild. His kids live in another state now. His wife took the dog, the furniture, and his reputation. What he didn't lose in court, he lost in respect. I saw him once. At the gas station. He avoided eye contact. So did I. There was nothing left to say. One night, I walked past our old college campus. That English building where she quoted poetry like it meant something. I sat on the steps. Let the wind roll over me. And I thought, maybe the saddest part wasn't that she cheated. It was that she'd rather risk everything for something so small. So hollow. All that history. All that effort. For a man who trims hedges and lies to children. She chose that. And I chose silence. I still keep the apartment. Still wake up early. Make strong coffee. Take Juno out at sunrise. He doesn't look for her anymore. Neither do I. Some stories don't end in fire. They end in cold. A kind of frost that moves inward until there's nothing left to burn. That was us. No last fight. No final plea. Just a door that closed. And didn't open again.